Good evening. It is 6 o'clock, so we are going to start. We'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. And now I would ask you to please stand for the anthem. All right, our first motion is moved by Lynn and seconded by Susan that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held August 13th, 2024 be approved as. Are there amendments, Kathy?
Yes, there's one amendment. It's an addition under staff reports number 12, C1 under fire. It's the fire master plan date.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof of any item on tonight's agenda by any member of council? Lynn and Susan?
Yes, I have an item on the finance treasury for monies received as reimbursement for a rec committee beach expense.
Okay, Susan?
I have two items. Item 12U, the road closure request for Rickards and Pyle, and item 15D, the bylaw to close part of the highway for Rickards and Pyle. And my reason is that my husband and I jointly own property abutting the property owned by Alan Pyle and abutting McAllen Lane.
Okay, thank you. You'll leave those with the CAO. Okay, approval of the minutes. We have a motion moved by Dan and seconded by Bill that the minutes for the regular meeting of council held July the 9th, 2024 be approved as. Are there any amendments there?
Yes, there are, Madam Mayor. There were just a few sort of typos and wording, so that will be corrected. If it's not already corrected, that council will receive a copy of that.
Okay, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And mayor's remarks, just a few remarks. Attended the last of the annual general meetings of the Lake Association groups. I think there's four in total that we've been to. Susan did Eagle Lake, and we did Horseshoe and Crotch and Kennebec and Charbet. Yeah, right here in this spot. This weekend, Parham Fair, Friday night. And of course, there's some rain predicted, but it's just going to keep the dust down. We're sure of that. And all day Saturday. So let's try to get there to support our last and only fair in Frontenac County. What's coming up? I'm off to AMO next week. I think I'd rather be home, but I'm going to AMO. It's usually a good conference, so hopefully I can bring back some things that I will have learned.
Staff appreciation.
Staff appreciation is happening on Thursday. And Susan and I are manning the office. So please, public, only call if you really, really have to, but we'll try to help you. So that's from noon until 4 o'clock. That's it for me. Deputy Mayor, do you have anything to add?
Just a report on the farmers market. Attendance has been going well, and the group is very inspired. So good to see that. And not surprisingly, and I'm glad to see that the CP rail crossing on Crow Lake is on the agenda, because as I say, not surprisingly, I have heard some grumbling about it, and not unjustifiably, although I know that Public Works did everything they could to make it as convenient as possible.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to add? Duncan?
I attended 2 events held in the municipality, the CMHC Country Music Festival. It was amazing. It was better than it was the year before and better than it was the year before that. It's pretty neat that you could eat and drink and have a good time, all with vendors in Central Frontenac. Awesome event, and everyone should attend next year. And then the other was a baseball tournament put on by the Central Frontenac Rec. It was well organized, and it was nice to see all 4 all 4 districts working together and having a good time.
Excellent. Anything else from anyone? Okay, if not, we'll move on then. And we are at delegations, and our first delegation is Art Halloway. And Art is here representing the North Frontenac Little Theatre Group. Have a seat, Art, and just push that button till the light's green. Yep. There we go.
Okay, it's my first time here, so bear with me. I'm just a little bit nervous. Usually I like mics, but
You're
so-
a performer.
exactly, right. So my name's Art Holloway, and I'm the past president of the North Frontenac Little Theatre Association, and I live at 1758 Tryon Road, right here in Central Frontenac. So good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of council. My primary purpose to being here really is to thank you for giving us this wonderful venue for us to perform in, and I want to give you an update on how things have been since we moved here. So we came in the darkest time in our history of NFLT in the winter of 2020, 2021. COVID had shut us down. Our bank account was pretty barren, and it wasn't only dark outside, it was pretty dark spiritually for us. And so we had this wonderful offer to come and work and bring our home to the Oso Hall here. It was very convenient timing. The ceiling was wide open. We were able to put our lights in. We were able to come up with a grant partnered with you that the Kingston and Area Foundation gave us $14,500 so we could defray the costs of this. And it's been straight uphill ever since. And I mean that in a good way. Our spirit is much better. We put on some pretty great productions. And I just want to briefly describe some of the events. So when we got here, we realized we're a community theater. We're in the community hall here. And we wanted to actually expand our mandate a little bit to get further into the community. And I just want to give some examples of that. Let me just see here. So I'm going to start actually by just basking and bragging a little bit. We just finished a run of the production called Oliver, a musical, which was by all accounts a really great success. It was sold out. We had a cast and crew of 45 people. When you add to that, many of them were kids. So you add the parents and the requirements for getting them to and from months of rehearsals. It really was a community theater production. The whole community was involved in putting it on. And we reached out, Greg from the Rock Hill Bed and Breakfast initiated online ticketing for the first time for us. We were able to partner with Belong. So we were able to offer dinner and theater. The chiropractic organization used it, a couple of tickets as a raffle to promote them and introduce new clients. In 2004, we celebrated 25 years of work, and we were able to compile a list of 600 names of people that were actually part of the production, whether it's cast or crew or executive. So in 2029, we're celebrating 50 years, and we think that that number is going to grow substantially, and we're in the process of planning for that. But I bring that up because I want to use that as an example of the reach that NFLT has in our community. So I want to just briefly list some of the other things. And first of all, this year was the first time we were able to offer the Marge Fossey annual student bursary. Marge was one of our original founders. She had a great spirit, and we miss her. But she left us a legacy, and that's the reason we're still here. We lived off that legacy through the lean years during COVID, where the rent was still due and the lights still had to be paid for, and we didn't have any income. So a way of remembering and honoring her is this. We also have an annual NFLT bursary that goes to students at GREC. Since we moved into Oso Hall, we've lit the annual Festival of Trees. We hired Coda Mobile Catering for our dinner theater in the fall of 2023, which by all counts was very satisfactory. The only issue that I heard was poor sight lines, where the tables were back here and it was hard to see over people, which I'm going to be addressing a little bit later. We helped with Frontenac's Got Talent in February by using our curtains and staging to put it up in the Catholic church auditorium. And we would have lit the show, but they were there and not here because there was a conflict. We partnered with a local Masons group in the spring to put on a Robbie Burns night, where NFLT was in Oso Hall here. So we lit the show, and we also had a few skits and music, and by all accounts was achieved very well. We had a lot of fun. I got to wear a kilt. In June of this year, the graduating class of GREC, the students approached me and asked whether we would be willing to light their celebration, their graduation party, which they rented the Oso Hall here, and we were able to supply the lights for that and also a sound system. And I learned all about the gal that was organizing it. Her phone went on the blink or something, so she asked if she could borrow mine, and I now have this thing called Spotify on my phone, and I keep getting messages about rap music and hip hop music and stuff I've never heard of before, so I'm gonna get my daughter to help me with that. So we had 40 students of the evening. It was really well run, and it was very, there was a lot of music, but there wasn't any shenanigans, and it was great to be able to help them out. Pretty proud of them. I want to talk briefly about the treasure trunk. We have this great relationship with them where they allow us to come in and look at potential props and clothing, and if we see something we like, they lend it to us for the duration of the production, and then we give it back. And it has saved us so much time, effort, and trouble of sleuthing or sourcing this stuff. And so just to give you an example, we approached them recently and talked about our upcoming production, which is Dracula. And so without even asking, as they get truckloads of stuff in there, they're sleuthing for Dracula potential props and clothing. And when they see it, they put it to one side, which to me just gives me one more reason to actually go to the treasure trunk, because I'm always on the lookout for my own personal treasures, and now they're looking after North Frontenac Little Theatre too. So that's just a great working relationship which continues to build. We just recently put on a summer youth camp, which was free to any students. We had kids between 7 and 15 come every Thursday in July and early August. Want to thank the rec committee that allowed us to use the medical, I'm not sure what the room is, the community room, the basement of the medical office. We had themes like costuming, makeup, accents, choreography, and things like that. And the reason we put that on is the kids were so excited after the musical, the Oliver musical. They were literally vibrating. And so we wanted to try to make this stretch out a little bit. So Lily Legacy stepped up and ran this, and it was a great success, to the point where we're actually thinking now of maybe having these through the winter as well, providing we have the energy to do that. So I want to thank her. Just a couple more here. We put on the haunted house last year at Oso Hall here. We got all, ask a bunch of actors whether they want to put makeup on and scare kids. And we had a really good response, and we actually scared a few parents more than we scared the kids, which was great. We want to thank again the rec committee for supplying the funds to buy the candy, and Dr. Fazy's dental office for supplying the toothpaste and toothbrushes to remove a lot of that candy. Thought it was a really good mix, and we're going to continue trying to do that again this year. judging from the reaction we had last year, I think it'll be well attended. Right after Halloween, we're putting on our fall production Dracula this year. Just want to point out that auditions are September 4th and 5th right here. We're looking for 7 or 8 people. So if you're interested, please show up for the auditions. The show itself goes the November 6th to 10th, right after Halloween. We're going to have a spring production to honor the kids again with a children's musical, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which we're in the process of planning right now. So I'm almost done here, and I just want to wind up by saying, you know, it was really dark when we moved into this venue 3 or 4 years ago, and you know, things are much better now. You know, we really got great energy back by doing Oliver. When it was proposed by the director, Brian Robertson, I told him he was out of his mind. We needed a cast and crew of 40 people, and he went out and he got them, you know, and it's totally re-energized our troupe. So to the point where we're actually thinking of putting on another one just as big, Joseph, coming up. Our bank account is sound. We've got a really good, strong new executive, and we're having people show up for our auditions, and both on and off the stage. And really, most of that is because of you, by allowing us to move in here. You know, if we hadn't been here, I don't think we would have been done. For a while, I thought I'd be the last president of NFLT, and you know, that's not the case. Things are looking real good. So I want to finish with a little final Oliver story. And you know, for those that were lucky enough to get tickets, because it was such a large cast, you know, we could only sell 75 tickets per show because of the fire codes. So those that were lucky enough to get tickets, the only complaint we heard was that the sight lines were really tough. It was hard for people to see past the people in front of them. So those in the front row were great, but the ones in the rows behind suffered a little bit. And part of that is due to the nature of the stage here. And part of it was because we did it in the round. So we had the performers in the middle and the audience seated all around in 3 rows. So we think we might have a possible solution to this, and that would be that we look at maybe another grant. We had a successful one in the past for looking at some sort of seating, you know, portable bleachers, either the kind that you can store under perhaps a remodeled stage, or the kind that like a gymnasium that you push up against the wall. And we're also, if the council is ever interested in renovating the stage, we would really like to be part of or have input in the planning. We have put the extended stage that you see there on for the past few months. It seems to have been well received by the community. We haven't heard any complaints, but you know, we'd like to see whether there's interest in working with that. Because if we plan it, if we do get bleachers, we could use the underneath as storage like we had in other facilities. So if there is interest, you know, NFLT is prepared to research the various types of bleachers. And if we can come up with something that might suit the community, not just us, but other users of the hall, we'd be prepared to work on another joint grant application and see where that goes. So that's my presentation. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. So.
Okay, thank you. We'll see if there's some questions or comments for you. Would the ball field bleachers, something like that, that's portable? I don't know where you'd store them, but.
Those are the things we'd be prepared to look at and come back for an update. You know, we've done a little bit of preliminary work, and we'd be prepared to put that into a little more visual presentation.
So is council interested in having that come forward to see what it would look like? I see nods. Good.
Great.
Duncan?
I'm wondering, just the potential idea, if it's in the summertime, maybe the new covered rink may be able to make something work, or something to explore. Anyway,
I had not thought of that. Thank you. Yeah.
That's becoming an area that people are using for all sorts of different things. There's been vendor sales. I know a fellow that wants to put on a wrestling match or some kind of something or other there. So yeah, it's an interesting venue for the summer months. You're to be congratulated for all of the different organizations that you pull together. And we're so pleased that this has worked out for the theater group. For a small town, we do well in the theater business. So thank you, and thank everyone that's involved.
Thank you.
I have a motion moved by Duncan, seconded by Nikki, that council received the presentation from Art Holloway on behalf of the North Frontenac Little Theater for information. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Art.
Okay.
And let us know when you come up with some ideas. Okay. Thank you. Okay, our next presentation. I know I saw Terry Kennedy on Zoom and Judy Kennedy might be there with him and Bill Wong. Are you folks with us?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Okay, whoever would like to start, please go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Smith and members of the council. Thank you for having us here and giving us the time to put our request forward. And I'd like to recognize Terry and Judy Kennedy. Terry and Judy may have something to add as well. First of all, my name is Bill Wong. I'm the current chair of the Kennebec Lake Association. And we have Terry. Terry is our lead on the Lake Stewardship Working Group. So, and the reason we're here is to seek council's permission to allow us to have a boat cleaning equipment at the public boat launch at Kennebec Lake. It's a partnership with the Quinte Conservation Authority, and we have provided some background information in the package earlier. So it should have been distributed to you. There are many reasons we want to do this, but maybe at this point I will pause and let Terry say a few words.
Thanks, Bill. And Madam Mayor, it's our pleasure to have you listen to us with this request. And you're well aware, all of you, that in Central Frontenac, we're so dependent on the quality of water in our lakes and around the entire tourist area for the well-being of all of us. And one of the things that lake people and cottagers and residents have been expressing concern about is the spread of invasive species. And one of the things that this tends to be, that one of the common ways that species are spread from one lake to another is when boaters move one boat out of one waterway and into one or more other ones, and unknowingly and unintentionally transporting remnants of plants that are invasive and allowing them to move from Lake A to Lake B or beyond. And so one of the things that we've been talking about with our partners at Quinte Conservation is using a boat cleaning apparatus. And the various conservation authorities have been cooperating in acquiring the use of this piece of equipment. And I believe you have its picture in your agenda materials.
Yes, we did.
I'm glad that Bill used the word boat cleaning, because it's all too easy to say boat washing, and I tend to slip into that every now and again. And it conjures up an image of pumping water up out of a waterway and washing a boat and a motor and propeller and washing things back down in. And that's not really what it is at all. It's in effect more of a vacuum type of cleaning apparatus. But the idea is that we can arrange through Quinte to have the use of such a piece of equipment at the boat ramp area. And while we fully recognize that a 2-week period doesn't accomplish an awful lot, the intention is to have it be an example, a communication as a reminder for good practices to educate people about the importance of care when they do transport a boat from waterway to waterway. And so that's the intention. And Quinte is prepared to, along with other conservation authorities who are looking to farm it out for different locations around the larger area. But the hope is that this would be a start for us at Kennebec and for us in Central Frontenac to have this be a communication and an education, and to get these issues further into the front of mind for boaters in the area. So we appreciate it, and our request is that you give us the go-ahead, and if approved, then we would arrange. Bill has been negotiating various dates with Quinty, and they would follow from here on toward the end of this month, and hopefully accomplish some of these intentions that we have in mind. So that's our respectful request for your approval. Oh, and Judy is nudging me in the ribs and reminding me this is at no cost to the township, and we will be paying the freight on this one for the 2-week period of time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Questions from folks? Philip.
So I do have 2 questions, but first, I think this is a great initiative, and thank you. It looks like it hopefully is well taken by the lake. I did want to know if there's any way of getting stats on the use of the equipment while it's there for 2 weeks, just to know if there's any uptake. And 2, perhaps maybe Kathy, you could answer this. Would we be liable or have any liability for this being on the property if it got damaged or anything like that?
That might be a question we'd need to ask Quinty. I'm sure they would have it insured
Yes.
and hopefully tied down securely, because I do know there has been some stealing happening in the boat launch area. I just heard that when I was there. Has Quinty said anything about that? Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. May I? Yes, Quinty has insurance coverage on the equipment, so there's no liability on either the township or Kennebec Lake Association.
Okay.
And in terms of stats, I'm not sure of this piece of equipment whether it has an automated registering system or not. So we could find that out. That's a really good question. We would like to know that as well. So we'll have to find a way to do that. Now we will have volunteers to be at the boat cleaning station. Not all the time, but probably during the busier times of the days, mornings and midday, and maybe at the end of the day when the boaters come and leave. So we will have a qualitative observation, I think, on the usage, if not direct measure statistics wise. But that's a really useful piece of question. We will ask Quinty about that.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Where does the water go when you do the cleaning?
Well, Madam Mayor, that's the all too easy perception that there will be a wash of things, and it isn't that at all. It's a vacuuming process.
Okay.
There isn't an intake and then a backwash that would run down towards the water.
Okay, so it's vacuumed into something that then gets taken away.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I think that was one of the concerns that some of us were thinking. If we just wash it back into the lake, we're not saving anything at all. Okay, no other questions or comments? I have a motion, and the motion is moved by Lynn and seconded by Cindy, that council receive the presentation from Bill Wong, Judy Kennedy, and Terry Kennedy on behalf of the Kennebec Lake Association for information, and further that council approve the request from the Kennebec Lake Association to temporarily install a boat cleaning station obtained from Quinty Conservation Authority. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. That is carried, and we'll be anxious to see how it turns out. You might want to think about a clipboard where people could just put their names down as they use them as well for when the volunteers aren't there, so we can help with our stats. Lynn?
May I speak?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council.
I
And
have
thank
one-
you very much. And we would like to extend the invitation to Township staff as well and other interested folks involved and to come and take a look at this unit when it's in operation. So you're very welcome to come by and see it.
And
Excellent.
if any of you need a vacuuming down, we'll be pleased to cooperate.
We'll be there. Lynn.
I have one final question. Now that we've approved it, have they given a date as to when you're going to be able to put the boat washing station in?
Boat cleaning.
Boat cleaning station in?
The routine they have is that they like to mobilize the unit every Monday. So we're really hoping that this coming Monday, which would be August 19th, we're hoping that the unit could be brought here. It could come earlier or later, but I will be letting Lindsay from the Conservation Authority know of the good news, and we'll find out very quickly, and I will let you know, Lynn, and then you can share with others.
Okay, thank you. Good. All right. Next, we have no public meetings and our consent agenda. Lots of stuff there. So I have a motion moved by Bill, seconded by Philip. Philip, you're good with that? Okay. That council consents to the approval of items A through I for information, which are considered routine items. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. The reason I asked Philip is you and Duncan wanted to be asked. The others, I'm just putting your name in, okay? Okay, deferred items. None?
Nope.
And we are at staff reports now. Development services. Andy. It looks like you're very busy these days.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Would you like to add anything before we go to the resolution? How have you been handling all of the permits?
It's been very busy. Yeah, we're just taking them one at a time.
That's about all you can do. Let's read the motion then and we'll get questions. So moved by Susan and seconded by Nikki. That council received the construction details report, July 2024, as presented by the chief building official for information. Discussion, Duncan?
Through Mayor to Andy, I have my own answer to this, but I'm sure you're going to come up with the same consensus. How has the public feedback been this year for septic reinspection?
I would say the feedback's been mixed. Last couple of weeks, there's been some failures that are probably going to be very challenging to correct due to setbacks on islands. Yeah, it's going to be challenging to work with the applicants to come up with a solution that can meet the building code.
A follow-up?
Yeah, through Mayor, can you, so during the Charlotte Lake Property Owner Association, one of the gentlemen in the crowd who hasn't reached out to me talked about some of the new septic systems that are coming in or some new septic system ideas for 2024. How long, if they are approved and brought into the interior building code, how long down the road do you think you're going to start to see some of those?
It's hard to say. Right now, there are no systems out there that can have a reduced setback. Right now, 15 meters is the minimum setback. Some of these islands aren't 30 meters across, so there are provisions in the code for grandfathering if, you know, if the system was put in with a permit or, you know, prior to permits being issued, there might be some leeway there.
And some minor variances could be involved as well.
The building code's provincial, so, minor variance doesn't
Help it.
no.
Unfortunately, things were built way back in the 40s and 50s on little tiny islands that we're trying to deal with now. Maybe that's something in the Builders Association group that could be a discussion piece to see how others are handling it.
Yeah, the only thing I'm aware of now that might work, there are some sort of incinerating systems that they have designed for boats that a lot of them need electrical power, and a lot of these places don't have electrical power.
Good sized generators would work.
Mhm.
A lot of them have generators on islands. Okay, so that's when we'll be dealing with for a number of years to come,
Mhm.
but hopefully a solution can be found. Okay, any other questions or comments on the report? Certainly lots of value, which shows the cost of building today. The
Mhm.
numbers aren't that much more huge than they were the previous year, but the dollar value is huge of
Yeah.
an increase. All right, I have a motion, or did I read? No, I didn't read this. Moved by Susan, seconded by Nikki, that council receive the construction details report, July 2024, is presented by the chief building official for information. All those in favor? Carried. All right, now we're at planning. Thank you, Andy. Okay, so this is going to be moved by Cindy. Seconded by Bill or Dan. Yeah. Hello, Abigail. We have a motion, and the motion is moved by Cindy and seconded by Bill. Whereas Section 44.3 of the Planning Act, Chapter 13, RSO 1990 requires that members of the Committee of Adjustment who are municipal council are to be appointed annually. And whereas a bylaw to appoint the Committee of Adjustment has not been passed in 2024, and as such, staff are bringing it forth at this time to be passed later in the meeting. And whereas staff are recommending that council adjust the date and time of the Committee of Adjustment meeting to follow the schedule of council and meet on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month or at the call of the chair, and that the time of the meeting shall be 5 p.m. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of staff and change the date and time of the Committee of Adjustment meetings to be held on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, starting at 5 p.m. Okay, discussion. Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy with all of that. I don't understand the annually having to reestablish the committee. I just don't understand that. If it's council, you already know we're here for 4 years.
No, under the act, under the Planning Act, if the Committee of Adjustment are members of council, it has to be each and every year. If it was citizen committee, like if you had members of the public as the committee, they're elected for 4. They're in for 4 for the whole 4 term. But no, unfortunately, that's the Planning Act and that's the requirement.
Just in case we decide to stop partway through. Duncan.
My only question is, does it have to happen twice a month? It just seems like redundant work for staff to do all the agenda and everything if there's only 1 or 2 applications.
In actual fact, it gives, I think it would give staff more scheduling ability to book it if there wasn't something that had to be done quickly or that has been deferred and needs to come forward, that they would book at that second meeting. Abigail, do you want to talk about which one you'll
Through
look
you,
at?
Madam Mayor, to Councillor McGregor. So that's why we have added in the or at the call of the chair. It does give us a little bit more flexibility to if there's a time sensitive application or something that's been deferred. Our goal is to do it once a month. It's easier for Jenny, the planner, but it does give us a little bit more flexibility within scheduling.
So it'll still probably be once a month. Okay. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. All right, fire and emergency services.
And Chris will be online.
Chris is online with us. Hello, Chris.
Hello. Sorry I couldn't be there.
Okay, we have a motion moved by Dan and seconded by Susan, that council received the Central Frontenac Fire Rescue Activity Report and the Central Frontenac Bylaw Enforcement Activity Report as presented by the Manager of Emergency Services / Fire Chief dated August 13th, 2024. Questions or comments?
Don't forget also about the emergency.
Right, got that next. Okay, no questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. And now we need to pick a date for the fire master plan. That is the additional one under I. CD. Kathy, some dates. Chris, do you have some dates in mind?
I don't. I can work whatever council decides they want to do. That's fine with me.
Would you like in something in September? Is that better for folks or? I don't have any specific dates, but I'm sort of leaving it up for council.
Would they prefer it during the day?
What's that? Yeah, and during the daytime? You
Yeah.
would start like we were going to, I think, well, we were going to, the last one was in June, we were planning, was it the first, at 1 o'clock?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, so.
It's probably what, 2 or 3 hours?
Oh, I don't think it'd be that long.
No.
Most of the items that are listed in the recommendations have been completed, so.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's just to review a few things.
Probably could be here.
Do you want
Depends
it
on the
here,
date.
Chris, or do you want it at the Station 3?
It's whatever council wants.
Whatever council wishes to do. You can have it here or at Station 3.
Okay, I'm away the 11th, 12th, and 13th, but other than that.
And let's ask for a question.
Oh, Lynn?
Thank you. I was just going to reiterate what Duncan said. How about August 27th in the afternoon? It's a Tuesday?
Oh, that's a Tuesday.
Mhm.
Oh,
I have
Okay.
a morning meeting.
no, you
I
have
can
1,
do
2, 3. You've got 2 away. Philip and Dan are away.
Okay.
Okay, let's leave it and you and Kathy can send out some dates and we'll take whatever the majority can do instead of trying to do that tonight.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I'll send out a few dates to everybody then.
Okay,
Sounds
folks are
good.
good with that? Okay, thanks.
Just an update too for council that I'm heading to the States next week. So I'll have something for you for next month.
Okay,
About the trucks.
all right,
Okay,
good. Thanks, Chris.
thank you.
Okay, now we have Michael with the Finance and Treasury. And let's see. Moved by Nikki and seconded by Lynn. That council received the check distribution reports totaling $794,043.32 as prepared by the treasurer and deputy treasurer for information. Questions, comments? Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Michael, I'd asked by email, is there any way to get a description in these reports, like even if it's just a brief something?
Of everything?
Well, I don't know. There's often things come up in here and I'm like, it's not a lot of money, but I'd like to even just know what it was for.
Mhm.
And then I don't have to ask you and say, what are we spending $1,000 on this?
So through Madam Mayor to Councillor Smith, then we wouldn't get to talk as much, so it's always nice.
I thought that's what you wanted.
It's not an easy answer. Working with the software company, the first line that comes up, it's not an easy, it's something I can work on, but I don't think it's going to come out anytime soon. But I will put that in that request and see what we can do with them. It may be a cost, and that's why we put money in the computer support budget. Perfect. Or call me.
In actual fact, the only other thing you could do would be some of the different names that you might see on the pay list, is to say what they are and give us I suppose the vendor list would do that, right?
Sorry, when it says administration, that could be a whole bunch of things.
But again, are we going to get into that kind of nitty gritty? Because it'll take staff a lot longer to put all that information in for us to go over it line by line.
I'm hoping they're already putting that level of detail in, because otherwise the auditors are going to ask them a gazillion questions too.
So Madam Mayor, if I can't make it automatic, I don't have time to put a description for every little thing, but if I can automate it, then I'm not opposed to try and get some sort of a brief piece of information in there.
Okay. Lynn.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Two things. In regards to that, if we had a question on any one of the items, can we not just reach out to Michael in advance about those items?
I do that, but I'm saying it could cut down on us all reaching out with similar questions, but possibly.
How many questions would you get?
Limited.
Okay. So it's not a big deal to answer.
No, it's not.
Councillor's
And it gives me an opportunity to touch base with whatever counselor as well. I mean, joking aside, it's nice to touch base once in a while.
So that's been working for years. So Lynn?
And my second point is you've got me motioning this, and I should be declaring pecuniary interest in
Okay.
leaving the room right now.
So I will take you out of there and
Okay.
put Susan in. All right, sorry. Okay. So, Nikki, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Michael, to follow up on Philip's question, is each department have like a code? So like, administration's 1, public works is 2, fire is 3, or something that just a code could be added. So at least we know the department, and that might cut down on emails.
That's one thing that I can look at through Councillor Councillor Gowdy. I can look at that as a code, but I think it would be easier to say Public Works or General Government, because Public Works has 6 or 7 or 8 different departments. Planning has 8 or 9. So 10-020-0250 is corporate services, 10-180-1800 is planning, and eventually we'll all get that. But I think words are simpler. But I'll take that as a note. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of paying the bills? Carried. Okay, Lynn. Next, we have apportionment of taxes. Lynn, you're going to do this one. And Philip, would you like to do this one? Okay. Sorry, Duncan, I missed you. I'll get you next time. Moved by Lynn and seconded by Philip that council approve the following apportionment of assessment as recommended by impact for 2024 as applicable for the following roll numbers. And there's a whole pile of them there. Everybody has the detail in their package. Is there any question on any of those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, budget to actual. Duncan, would you like to move that one? Cindy? That council accept the revenue and expenditure budget to actual variance report for the period ending June 30th, 2024 for information. Any questions or comments for that one? Nikki?
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Madam Mayor. Great report and very thorough. My question isn't about the report. It's about maybe we should pick dates for budget times now. So if we start in October, it's been my goal to start in October and actually have it passed for January instead of dragging it till March, April, or May.
And we know how well that worked out last time.
I know, but you can always have hope.
Send out a doodle poll. Okay, all those in favor of the motion. Oh, sorry, Duncan, go ahead.
Through Madam Mayor, so to comment on what Nikki had just said, I think we should start thinking about how we're going to do budget this year. And I think we should do it a little differently when we have a meeting earlier on, September, October, to try to set some broad scope of what we're going to be doing. I hate to see staff spend as much time and as much work on a budget if council's not going to approve it. So maybe we should set that aside. That's the first comment. And the second question is to Michael, and I ask this every time. Excellent report, Michael. How are we doing to keep within the budget for 2024?
Through Madam Mayor, Councillor McGregor, it was a little surprising when I saw the numbers come out because I don't always have time to check it as much as I would like to. We're 1.5 million lower than we were last year, but don't worry, that money will be used with the gravel going out and capital projects that are being done. So we'll be back on track. The only concern I have are some of the lines were probably budgeted a little tighter than I would have liked. So some repair items have come up for the medical center, for example, that we're almost at budget now for the year. So those are the things that we try and plan for. And I know we need to balance everything, but that's my only concern with everything that I saw. There's a couple of corrections, sent that out to department heads, some lines to watch and whatnot, but you know, everybody's operating within their budget. So.
One more.
Yep. Follow-up question. So when a project is not, and I asked you this last budget season, when a project does not take place, for example, swimming lessons, right? Where is the decision made to reallocate those funds? So
I would, through Madam Mayor to Councillor McGregor, I would want a resolution of council supporting me with the auditors that money is being directed somewhere else. Right now, the surplus deficit policy says it goes into the working fund for the reserve. So if it's public works, if it's fire, whatever, that all goes into that working fund line that we do borrow from different departments. So it is used by the team, but it is going to that one line. A working funds reserve.
So it's like staff can just make the decision like to go over budget on one item and then pull it from that working fund? Is that, sorry?
I apologize. I was thinking the end of the year. Some lines are over and it's expected that department heads will try and operate within their budget, that they'll accommodate somewhere else, but that's not always possible.
Yeah, and also too, Michael, that they may be over on one line, but under on another line within their budget, correct?
Yeah, as much as possible, but sometimes that's not possible.
The only comment I'd have about setting a September, October budget time is if we are going to look at actuals to expenditures, we're wasting our time because you have got the last part of the year that the expenditures are going to come in that you have no idea what they are. So you can spend a lot of time, and we did it this time. We were comparing actuals to what we were budgeting, and we hadn't finished the year yet. So my September is pretty booked. So I think we need to think about that. I think the finance department is always looking at budgets, but to try and start a budget in September is a waste of time.
And Madam Mayor, thank you for making that point. I didn't mean to. If we're going to focus on actuals, I can't mentally go through this year what I did last year. So we either wait for actuals if that's what council wants, or we get a broad scope direction and we base the budget on that and potential predictions, and the next year falls where it may. I'm not opposed to starting in the fall, but if we're going to go off actuals, I can't do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, we're having a budget discussion when we really just need to look at the revenues and expenditures. So we're going to hold that till maybe September. All right, all those in favor of the motion to accept the revenue and expenditure report? Carried. All right. Next we have, let's see, Cindy and Bill. That Council for the Township of Central Frontenac approve the following reduction of assessment pursuant to the Municipal Act, Rule number 239-040-050, 2002, Central Frontenac Township for the period January 1, 2024 to December 31st, 2024, as reported by impact, demolition, raised by fire, demolition or otherwise 357 1DI. And further that council approve an adjustment of taxes to be calculated by the tax department for the related period. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Let's see, Dan, you haven't done some here, and Lynn. Moved by Dan, seconded by Lynn, that council accept the arrears tax sale property summary update report as prepared by the treasurer for information purposes. Any discussion? Go ahead, Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Michael, do you have any concerns with the increase in I guess, arrears and the number of files you have payment arrangements for?
Through Councillor Smith to, or Mayor Smith, sorry, to Councillor Smith, the only concern I have is the increase of problem properties that came up, and that doesn't happen until people stop paying their taxes. There's a day that Aaron and I set aside that we used to use Cindy for, so we'll have to send a few more files to the lawyers potentially. But not overall. We've had some really big ones that have been sitting there for a few years cleared up this year, so nothing that's coming to mind, no.
And it's a tough year for folks, dollar wise, to feed families and pay what they have to pay.
And if I may add, we do always just remind council, we do work with people to the nth end. So we don't have to do the process. It is administratively cumbersome and it does add up to $3,000 in costs for people. So we don't want to make it worse, but we do need to collect the money.
And we thank you for that. They are our people and we need to try and work with them as much as possible. We don't want people to lose their homes. All right. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. And I liked it better when you guys signed these motions. Philip or Duncan, can I put your name in here? Okay, moved by Susan, seconded by Duncan, that council receive the Mountain Grove Cemetery's Memorial Day report as prepared by the treasurer for information. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Judy Gray does an excellent job with that. Okay. Moved by Dan. Seconded by Nikki. The council received the report bylaw 2024-25 municipal funding agreement, MFA, for the Canada Community Building Fund, CCBF, as presented by the treasurer for information. And that council grant authority to the mayor and CAO clerk to sign the municipal funding agreement for the administration of the Canada Community Building Fund between the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac. And further, that council passed bylaw 2024-25 later in the meeting to enact the municipal funding agreement. Discussion. Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know that we use this fund to fund many things across the township wide. This year, they seem to have an emphasis on housing. Is there any plans to possibly use any of this for housing in Central Frontenac? Because it is an issue here for us.
Through Mayor Smith to Councillor Gowdy, it has historically every single year been used for public works projects because there's never an ending list of them to be done. And I think the public does like that. Would they like housing as well? I think I'll leave that up to council to decide in the budget.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. All right, let's see.
Madam Mayor, while you're signing that, if I could just welcome Jen from MFA One Investments, drove all the way from Whitby to help me out here tonight. So, and driving back.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, and yes, Keith's online. Okay, Keith, you'll tell me.
Keith, can you hear us all right?
Absolutely, hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, excellent. Welcome. All right, I have a motion moved by Susan and seconded by Bill that council approve the attached investment policy statement and the prudent investor bylaw. And that council approve the recommendation of the treasurer and pass the bylaw authorizing participation in the One Investment Joint Investment Board later in the meeting. And that council authorizes the treasurer sign the investment policy statement, complete the client questionnaire and other required documents. And further, that council authorize the mayor and CAO clerk to sign the One Joint Investment Board agreement for prudent investor standard. Would you like to speak to this, Michael?
Just very quickly. So in 2023's report said, Keith and Jen brought a presentation to council. Council seemed in favor of going with prudent investor, which is what I would recommend. So we're to bring back a statement with an agreement, which we're doing now. And we've invested with the legal list since 2014, but I believe that we can do a lot better under prudent investor standards. So to help smooth out the tax rate for our residents a little bit, I think this is the best option.
Questions or comments? Looks good to the bulk of us. So all those in favor? Carried Unanimous. Make us some money.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. And now Public Works. All right, we have a motion moved by Bill and seconded by Cindy. The council received the Public Works Activity Report as presented by the Public Works Manager dated April 13th, 2024 for information. Any discussion on the report? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question, when are the lines going to be painted on 38 where we did the resurfacing by the Township garage? I know today they were doing little spot painting on there, but people with the heavy rain we've had lately are saying it's really difficult to drive in it and makes it extremely dark during that point. And then I have another question, but you can answer that one first if you would like.
To you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Gowdy. We were in contact with them last week because I brought it up to Amanda and we've got in contact with them and they're marking it. That's what they're doing, marking it. So I was hoping this week, but hopefully next week, but they're on their way. So.
Perfect, thank you. And my other question is brushing. I know you've got the brusher going. Are we any further ahead? Because we are getting complaints about some brushing areas.
To you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Gowdy. We have our little tractor brusher going. We have a contractor that's the supervisor has got a hold of. He's supposed to be here within the next week or two to try to get some of the heavy stuff off of the major roads.
The problem has been the rain is making stuff grow so well this year. It's hard to keep up. Lynn.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wanted clarification. When you talk about the line painting on 38, what about the other roads? Is it into the same time frame?
To you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it's the same timeline, but they're trying to get to the resurface stuff first because you can't see any lines there. So they want to come out first to get those done first. So.
Okay. All right. Oh, Cindy, go ahead.
On a positive note, I'd like to thank you for all your hard work. The Henderson Road is beautiful right now. And I have seen the brusher down. I think I seen him at Elm Tree the one day and on the Arden Road today. So thanks for all the hard work.
Good. Always good to hear the good things. All right. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. And next we have Dixon Crescent, and this is going to be moved by Susan. Duncan, will you second this one? Seconded by Duncan. Okay, that council received the Dixon Crescent Culvert Report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated August 13th, 2024 for information. And that council agree with the recommendation of the Public Works Manager to share the cost of the culvert on Dixon Crescent in the amount of $2,500 with the monies to come from the 2024 budget. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council authorize the Public Works Manager to work with the Fergusons to complete the work and that the municipality's share is $2,500. Discussion. This goes from way back.
1994.
Yeah. All those in favor? Carried. It's the only way to keep the ball field dry.
Well, because of the lake level.
All right. Philip, will you move the next one? Fifth Lake. And Nikki? Okay, moved by Philip, seconded by Nikki. Whereas Greer Galloway released a request for tender on June 14th, 2024, named RFT 2024-08. The tender closed on July 4th, 2024. And whereas 3 bids were received, the Public Works Manager has reviewed and evaluated the bids according to the criteria outlined in the tender and recommends, along with Greer Galloway, awarding Cranes Construction as the successful contractor. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the Public Works Manager and Greer Galloway to award Cranes Construction as the successful bidder in the amount of $225,520 excluding HST, and that the Public Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order in the amount of $225,520 excluding HST. And further, that the mayor and CAO clerk be authorized to sign the formal contract documents. Discussion? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a question and it's to Kathy, I guess.
Mhm.
So if Greer Galloway is going to be the project manager on this, if there's any issues whatsoever with the installation, will in the agreement with the township and Greer Galloway, will they be
Held
held
liable?
responsible for it?
Absolutely. Steve and I've had that discussion already and he's on it. So he will make sure that it's done correctly.
Thank you.
Okay?
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just wondering, did we look at any options where we didn't have to close the road? And is it being replaced with a culvert or a bridge? It seems we've used the term interchangeably a little bit.
Go ahead,
To
Steve.
Madam Mayor, Councilor Smith. It's actually, they call it a bridge because it's over 3 meters, so it's called a bridge. So that's why we put culvert bridge, but it's a culvert. Yep. And the road closure, when they first, Greer Galloway first seen it, they thought it was going to take 3-4 days closure. And after talking with Cranes, he thinks he can do it overnight. So.
Good, good. All right. All those in favor? Carried. CP rail crossing. So this will be moved by Cindy. Seconded by Bill. That council received the CP rail report as presented by the Public Works Manager dated August 13th, 2024 for information. And further, that council authorizes the CAO clerk to send a letter to CP rail requesting better communication and an outline of future railway reconstruction plans. Discussion. I know we were not happy with this happening, first of all, on a long weekend, but they did get it open before the long weekend. Susan.
I appreciate that we're going to be sending a letter expressing concern and trying to get some commitment about notice and so forth. Is there any reason why we cannot, or are we pursuing railway crossings maintenance agreement?
I can speak a bit about that to Councillor Irwin's question. Yes, I have received some of the information. In regards to agreements, there are no agreements per se. The information I received are orders, and I have sent them to the lawyer to get some clarification on these orders. Are they still in effect? Because some of these are they're dated like 1939. Some of them are different, have different dates. So once I have that information and we have some legal advice, that will be done in a closed session for council. So what we can do from there. So it's not a dead situation, if I might say. So I am working on it with legal. Okay.
Okay. Nick, Duncan?
So with that, through you, Madam Mayor, with that being said, I don't think we should send a letter requesting any more information until we get this straightened around. So I think I plan on voting no, and I think we should vote no to this motion.
But this is requesting better communication.
And we can do that once
and an outline of future railway reconstruction plans.
Yeah, sorry. To respond to that.
Okay.
I don't think we should do anything until we've explored the other avenue that Kathy's going through.
Okay. Bill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I remember correctly, Mr. Gould, did you not say that Myers was informed last year by the railroad?
You, Madam Mayor, Councillor Everett. Yes, there was emails discussing a project coming. There was no actual numbers or when they were going to close it until up to the week before or 2 weeks before they were going to do the work.
Thank you. Well, that sounds to me like
point of order,
communication.
This should be in closed session. This is affecting our communication and our negotiating ability. This should be in closed session. And this is a point of order. This should not be discussed in open public. We're admitting to things in public that need to be held in closed session.
Is the order of the business, not the topic of discussion. If it were a closed session, the CAO would put it in closed session.
And a point of order is when it affects the procedure, and the procedure is what determines we have in closed session. It was not in closed session until that comment was just made. It needs to be moved into closed session if we're going to continue this conversation. We're admitting to things in the public we shouldn't be.
But it's a fact.
It's a fact that should be held in closed session.
I don't know. Somebody give me a ruling. I don't know.
We can look at the procedural bylaw. Jody, do you have it there, Jody? Because I have a copy of the procedural bylaw. If you wish.
Okay, so could we maybe defer this motion? Susan?
Yeah. That's what I would suggest, Madam Mayor, is just defer the motion.
Okay, Susan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And in response to Councillor McGregor's comment about not sending a letter at this time, given the nature of the inquiry, we're just asking for some information. And that might be useful to the lawyers in pursuing any negotiations that they might have on our behalf. So once again, I'm sorry, but I would take the position that there's no harm in sending the letter and would vote in favor of it.
Okay. Bill?
I would like to address this, Madam Mayor, but if we're having an issue, my whole point was that we're requesting better communication when we had communication. The communication was the fault of our staff, not the railroad.
A point of order again. This is affecting negotiations. It's written in the municipal act. We should not be having this discussion.
Jody's looking it up.
The municipal act, it's exception K, which is specifically talks about plan procedure negotiations.
She's got it there.
Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is actually a question about the work, if that's all right. Steve and Lance, are you satisfied with the work that was done? We had issues with the Titchburn repairs and we had no follow back on it. So are you two satisfied with the work that was done by CP Rail before it's too late?
To you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Gowdy. I myself haven't drove it yet. I think Lance has. Yeah.
And did they do a good job, Lance? Sorry, Lance said they did a good job, which is Titchburn was good, I think, initially, but then it sunk. No, it was sunk at the beginning.
No. Okay. Under the open meeting section where we talk about, section 239 2K, which includes that about a position plan procedure criteria instructions. It does not include, so there is no, it's in the absence of related negotiations at this point where negotiations are concluded. So at this point, there is no negotiation. So that's why it wasn't being closed session. So I think at this point, as I mentioned, if council wishes to defer this, that's your option. We will, like I mentioned, I will be working with the lawyers on it to bring more information back at that time.
Okay, so I'm going to call the question on the motion. Just going to read it again. And that is that council authorizes the CEO clerk to send a letter to CP Railway requesting better communication and an outline of future railway reconstruction plans. That's what you're voting on. All those in favor? Opposed? Do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's defeated. All right. Okay, moving on.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Kathy read a whole bunch there and I still don't know if that really answered the question for me. So was our brief discussion supposed to be enclosed or was it fine and open?
We're not in negotiations with CP Rail. So it's really not a closed issue until we are in negotiations is what I understand it to say. Anyway, that's defeated, so we can do what we need to do.
And then we'll back.
And then I'm sure it will come back. All right, administration. That is it for roads, I believe. Thank you, folks. Moved by Dan, seconded by Lynn, that council receive the administrative report as presented by the Chief Administrative Officer, Clerk for information. Any discussion on Kathy's report? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the report, I just had two questions. That there is interest in the Hinchinbrook School site. And wondering if Kathy wanted to talk about the OPP.
I can certainly mention that. The OPP have approached, I think, Councillor Gowdy in regards to, and that's the technical committee, that they would like to use the Hinchinbrook School. So I have been reached out with them, as well as they spoke to Terry. They went and had a look at the school. So it'll work really well for what they do. That's, search, research, they get search people, they have all kinds of things. So they are going to be using the school. Insurance, they've done that before, as Michael had already mentioned to them, as I think a few years ago, was it not, Michael? Yeah, that they came and they said, no, the setting is just perfect. So, and I mean, there's so much damage been done to the school, so they can't damage it any more than what already is. Like they break down doors and they do those kinds of things. So it's great training for them, and they are going to be using it. Yes.
Good. Okay. All those in favor of the administrative report? Oh, sorry, Bill, did you have a comment? Voting? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. All right. Special events policy, moved by Susan, seconded by Nikki. Whereas staff recognized the need for special events policy to assist with the safety and planning of large events in the township. And whereas at the February 27th, 2024 meeting of council, a resolution was passed allowing staff to proceed with a draft special events policy. And whereas staff have created a draft special events policy for council to review. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council send any comments or feedback to the deputy clerk by September 6th to be incorporated into the draft special events policy. Discussion. My suggestion to Kathy is we should also send it out electronically to some of the people who organize events and get their input on it as well.
Yes, and our suggestion is for Councillor Smith, if you want to take that to the Central Frontenac Recreation Committee, I think that's a great spot to go as well, so that all the chairs, because it's amazing about all the things you have to look at when you do a special events policy to make sure that people are safe.
And maybe the farmers market should take a look at it too and give feedback. I think the more feedback we get, the better the policy will be, and the least amount of trying to make it fit our events will have to happen. Okay, so if we don't get it back by the 6th and we need to extend it, we can do that maybe next meeting. Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
All those in favor? Carried. Vehicle policy is the next one. And this will be moved by Dan and seconded by Lynn. Whereas council requested a review of the vehicle policy at the February 13th, 2024 meeting, and whereas council provided comments and feedback to the CAO clerk at the February 27th, 2024 meeting. And whereas council approved the comments and feedback and was asked for final feedback at the June 25th, 2024 meeting. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council accept this report from the CAO clerk for information, and further that the CAO clerk send the draft vehicle policy to Township's legal consultant for review. Discussion. All those in favor? Oh.
Sorry,
Sorry, Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What issues are there that we want legal counsel to review?
Yeah, there is in regards to the legal part of your vehicle on a vehicle policy, is that it is part of the employee policies, which legal has already went through them. And it's an older policy, of course. We're trying to update as many of the policies. The other thing is in regards to the insurance company, because there's liability on employees And that's what I want to make sure that we cover that with the lawyers first. I think that as staff will be on the, basically, staff could be on the hook if they use their own vehicles for township business. So that's what I want to make sure that that's covered, so that, because I don't think that would be fair to any of the staff. So, but there's some of that that needs to be vetted out first. Okay.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? Carried. All right. Volunteer appreciation. Duncan, moving? Moved by Duncan, seconded by Nikki. Whereas council passed resolution 201-2024 requesting that staff discuss hosting a volunteer appreciation event in 2024 and bring back options to council. And whereas the strategic plan speaks to fostering a vibrant and prosperous community by celebrating the collective success of its residents and recognizing volunteers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council receive the volunteer appreciation event report as prepared by staff for information. Discussion. We have a lot of volunteers. Cindy.
My only question is, was Circle Square Ranch approached? And was Camp Kennebec approached?
What's happening?
We're having musical chairs here.
Well, now this is the committee, so that it's been great that we've had, actually staff have offered to do this. So these are the ladies that have put this together for council.
So through you, Madam Mayor, can I address the committee?
You can.
I would like to ask the committee if you approach Circle Square Ranch or if you approach Camp Kennebec for pricing on this event.
We did not. I believe we looked at capacity, so we'll have to look to see if the capacity is available for that with the numbers, but we did not know.
Duncan, oh, sorry, a second, Cindy?
Well, I personally would like to see a follow-up on that and have some pricing from them also, please.
Okay, Duncan.
Through Madam Mayor. First of all, thank you very much. Everyone's done a fantastic job getting that information. And I think it was one of those things when you started to peel away some of the layers, you didn't realize quite the scope of a project. And I didn't either, to be honest. So thank you for that. Michael, the second question is for you at the back. How would we pay for such an event, or what would the financial repercussions be of having an event like this when it wasn't budgeted for in 2024?
It's from Gregor. I think it depends how far you want to go. It's not in the budget. As per the procurement policy, Kathy can approve up to $15,000. I'm going to hopefully not get raked over the coals, but I wouldn't spend that much. But maybe the council can set a budget for us to incorporate into the 2024 actual expenses.
Okay, Susan.
First of all, thank you for the excellent report. And we didn't budget for it this year. We could plan for it next year and have it in the 2025 budget. Is there any reason, though, why we couldn't do something a little smaller, which might just be an electronic thank you card or certificate recognizing the contribution?
Mm-hmm. One of my fears is you're going to leave somebody out. And I think it's going to take a while to really get a good concrete list of all of our volunteers so that we don't leave somebody out. It's the worst feeling in the world when you leave somebody out. And go ahead.
Then could we just put on our website and Facebook site a big thank you to all volunteers? We could also send out a survey to the various recreation groups or committees inquiring what they would like. It was interesting with Rural Frontenac Community Services with some of their volunteers. They didn't want a get-together. I don't know that would be the case here, but maybe they prefer a Central Frontenac t-shirt or something like that. So just a thought.
Yes, Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I agree. I thank you all for your work and I appreciate everything you did. I think that maybe Councillor Irwin could be onto something that, April is volunteer month and volunteer appreciation week is in April. And maybe next year, instead of trying to rush something right now, we wait till next year, get concrete numbers, make sure we're not missing anybody and actually acknowledge them. But putting something on the website, thanking our volunteers, putting it on social media might be something that's, free and affordable this year. And we don't have to rush anything. And it's true. Real Frontenac surveyed all of our volunteers and they appreciated the card and the little gift we gave. They do it because they want to volunteer and they want to help out. They don't do it to get a meal or anything for it.
And most of the volunteers don't want to be centered out. The other thing I was thinking is, I forget the number, was it 120, 140, something like that we came up with? 120, when you actually send out invitations to an event and get the replies back of who's coming, that's probably going to be half, if that. So, Dan.
I don't think we need to make a real big deal out of this. I was just thinking, when I mentioned it before, I'm not going to further investigate on. It's nice just to recognize people that do put in hours and hours and hours of volunteer work. And I mean, as far as a barbecue or something at the fairgrounds for $820, I don't think that's another question for our hard workers.
It's true. I certainly, any chance I get to speak, I thank volunteers. And I think most of us do in our committees, thank the volunteers. But again, there's no money in the budget this year, but I think planning something for next year from this document is a good idea. Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Echo everybody else's comments about thank you for bringing this forward. This is great. I, like Danny, think, if we could throw something together that we could do at the fairgrounds, that's appropriate. And plan for something more elaborate next year that we can budget for. When I first read the report, though, I did question the capacity limits. So when you look at Piccadilly Hall and it says it can hold more people than this hall,
yeah,
I just scratched my head a little bit and wondered how old those capacity numbers are and where they come from.
Littler people back then. So this, Duncan?
Through my mayor, so I want to let all the other members of council speak. So I kind of am on the same thinking as Philip. I know we don't have a lot of money for this year. I think a small event this year as a trial run, and then budget for a larger event in 2025 is my thinking.
Okay, well, this motion is for information. So I guess the next step would be for the committee and council to figure out a date, what you're going to eat or whatever you're going to do as the next step. Right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
All right. So the motion before us is to receive this for information, and staff will maybe throw out some ideas as a follow-up to this report of what could happen this year and what a cost might be and where and what. So your job's not done yet.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, all of you, for your input. That's great. All right. All in favor of this motion? Carried. Job well done. All right, we're now at road allowances. How are we doing? 7:30. We have a motion moved by Bill and seconded by Susan.
No, you gotta take Susan on.
Oh, Susan, this is yours. Okay, moved by Nikki. That council approve in principle the recommendation of the CAO clerk to close part of the unopened road allowance between concession 4 and 5, lots 30 and 31 Kennebec, as shown on the sketch. Attached to this report, as applied for by Ina Hoffman, and that we proceed to a public meeting to close the said road allowance before passing the said bylaw. Discussion. This is the Kennebec one. No questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. All right. So this is going to be moved by Philip. seconded by Cindy. That council received this report for information. This is road closure request, Erdley, Barker, and Rickards Pile. That council received this report for information, and further that council approved the recommendation of the CAO clerk and passed the 2 road closure bylaws later in the meeting. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Is there something missing? No? I thought there was 2. Okay. Committee or other reports? None?
No, it's not.
Communications. Letter of support for Eorn. So moved by Susan. Seconded by Dan. That council offer its support to Eorn and 2B developments, rural impact, localizing communal servicing project, CMHC Housing Supply Challenge. And further that the CAO clerk on behalf of the Township of Central Frontenac be authorized to issue a letter of support. Discussion. This group has given $100,000 to the county for communal service through the CMHC Housing Supply Transfer of Funds. All right, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Duncan. Seconded by Philip. We'll get the both of you in there. Moved by Duncan, seconded by Philip, that council received the communication from the Township of Addington Highlands regarding the closure of Henderson Road on August 20 and 21 to complete a culvert replacement for information. And further that staff provide public notice regarding the closure via the township website, social media sites, which I see it's already happening. Go ahead, Steve. So it's closure on.
Oh, they got Henderson.
Okay, so I'll take Henderson out and put Kennebec Road. Okay. Right. All right. So the motion has been changed to correct the name of the road. All those in favor? Carried. Bylaws. We have. Do I have
agreements?
I don't have a mover and a seconder spot here.
Right here, up here. Right.
Oh, sorry. Getting late. This is moved by Lynn and seconded by Bill. That bylaw 2024 being a 2024-24 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an automatic aid agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac and the Corporation of the Township of South Frontenac be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 13th day of August 2024. Discussion? All those in favor? The date did get changed. Carried. No, that's right.
No, it's lucky, yeah, that you caught it.
Okay.
I think what's happened is when they sending it back, they had the wrong.
Okay, moved by Dan and seconded by Susan, that bylaw 2024-25 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a municipal funding agreement for the Canada Community Building Fund between the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 13th day of August 2024. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. This is going to be moved by Cindy and seconded by Philip. That bylaw 2024-26 being a bylaw to authorize the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac to invest its money and investments that it does not require immediately in the prudent investment program of one joint investment board pursuant to section 4 418-1 of the Municipal Act 2001 to approve various documents, the entering into a specific agreements and the delegation of certain powers and duties be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 13th day of August 2024. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And this is a closure records pile. So I won't put you in here as a mover. Okay, who have I not had? Bill and Dan. That moved by Bill, seconded by Dan, that bylaw 2024-27 being a bylaw to permanently close, declare surplus, and sell part of a highway, Rickards Pile, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally pass this 13th day of August 2024. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. All right. So Susan and Cindy. Moved by Susan, seconded by Cindy, that bylaw 2024-28 being a bylaw to permanently close, declare surplus, and sell part of a highway, Erdley, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 13th day of August 2024. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. We've got another one. So this will be Duncan and Dan. Okay, moved by Duncan, seconded by Dan, that bylaw 2024-29 being a bylaw to appoint a committee of adjustment be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 13th day of August 2024. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Any notices of motion? Any giving of
None.
notices?
No,
of
there are
motion?
not, Madam Mayor.
Any new or other business?
No, there is not.
Okay, we had our closed session. So I'll read this and then we'll take a break just before we go into close because it's a long closed session. This is moved by, I'm running out of people here, Susan and Nikki. The council resolve into closed session pursuant to section 239(1) of the Municipal Act to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board members, section 239(2)B. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board members, section 239(2)B. Advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, section 239(2)F. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local boards, section 239(2)E. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, section 239(2)E. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, section 239(2)E. And number G, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, section 239(2)E. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. We'll be finished at midnight. Let's take a 10-minute break and then we'll come back into closed session.